everybody, and thank you for joining us for our 41st annual MLK Luncheon. My name is Anita Gage, and I serve as the board vice chair for the African American Community Service Agency, also known as AACSA. I am so excited to be here alongside Christina Lewis, who is also a fellow board member. Today, we celebrate the 92nd birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King, and also to honor our awardees for their outstanding commitment to community service. 2020 has been a transitional year at AACSA. We have worked really hard to adjust, adapt, and adopt new processes for our operations. We also have enhanced our programs to better serve our community for the needed resources throughout this pandemic. After being tried and tested, I am happy to say that we are even more devoted to our mission. This year's luncheon includes an inspirational fireside chat with the charismatic activist, Tamika D. Mowry, and also backed by popular demand, we have the fiery Roland Martin. As many of you guys remember, back in 2019, he read us, and I can hardly wait to hear what he has to say today. Christina?
Thank you, Anita. My name is Christina Lewis, and it is my absolute honor to welcome you all here today as we celebrate the life, legacy, and dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you to each of our sponsors, vendors, and elected officials for your support today. I'd also like to send a shout out and a very special thank you to all of our amazing volunteers who made today's program possible. Dr. King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And in light of the social unrest we've all experienced, especially in this last year, the theme for today's program, In the Presence of Justice, captures this moment. It captures the need for all of us to lift each other up as we navigate through the chaos of this world together. I also remember the words of Coretta Scott King, who once said, "The greatness of any community is measured in the compassionate actions of its members." So as we all enjoy today's program, we hope that each of you will take time to reflect and to recognize the greatness that lies within each and every one of us. Now, for today's program. Unfortunately, Marcus Washington is under the weather and unable to join us today. However, in his absence, he has sent us the very best to fill in for him, the wonderful Mr. Len Keys. Mr. Keys is the news anchor for the morning and noon editions of KPIX 5 News on CBS. So ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I'll turn it over to our MC for today's program, Mr. Len Keys. Len?
You're on mute.
Okay, I think we're good
now. Good.
Technology, right? Christina, thank you so much. Welcome. It's an absolute honor to be with you all this afternoon on this day when we remember and honor the legacy and the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., also the dreams of Dr. King, and also what an honor it is to do so with such an energizing and groundbreaking agency doing so much for the Bay Area. And I join as well in sending well wishes and love to our friend, Mr. Marcus Washington. All right, let's dive on in. I want to issue a couple of reminders for all in attendance as we start to navigate our way through the program this afternoon. First and foremost, please utilize this opportunity to introduce yourself and drop your name, and if you have joined us on behalf of an organization or local representative's office. Additionally, throughout today's program, all of our speakers will have short bios posted in the chat. You may also use the chat to share information and any contact information for your respective organizations. Please, also, this is important, select all panelists and attendees if you would like all in attendance to view what you post there in the chat. You may also use the chat to share information and contact information once again. Also, you can submit questions for use during the Q&A section of the program in the Q&A section on the bottom section of your Zoom window. We'll also be scanning the comment section for you for any questions you may have. For those attending from our Facebook live stream, welcome to you as well. Please join us via Zoom to get the full MLK Luncheon experience. And what an experience it will be. Also, this is a treat. We'll also have an ongoing painting being completed by internationally recognized San Jose native and young artist Tyler Gordon. We also want to give a shout out to our local Black-owned businesses and vendors. We have an ongoing raffle for you as well. Be sure to purchase your tickets. And there is a long list of prizes, my friends. They include an autographed basketball by Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, 2 individual Warriors Dub Hub virtual NBA experiences, 4 round-trip tickets from Alaska Airlines to be used post-pandemic, of course, a family membership for the Museum of the African Diaspora, a $150 gift card to Santana Row, and there's more, a gift certificate for a weekend night stay at Sonesta, Silicon Valley, and also a basket of assorted snacks from Mary West Credit Union. Now, funds from this raffle will be utilized to support the programs and services of the African American Community Services Agency. Next, on behalf of the entire Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon Committee and the entire team at the African American Community Services Agency, I want to thank this year's 41st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon 2021 title sponsor, Google. Let's give it up for them. And we also want to take this time to thank our corporate sponsors, Wells Fargo and Alaska Airlines, along with our dream sponsors table and general sponsors as well. Thank you to all our sponsors for your donations and your ongoing support of the African American Community Services Agency. Next, I would like to introduce our lead in prayer this afternoon, Eli Pfeiffer.
Now, praise the Lord, everybody. It's a privilege to be in here. Now let's just bow our heads and ask the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for waking us up this morning, and we thank you for our life, health, and strength, Lord. Lord, we just thank you for putting us in our right mind and just for bringing us together on today, oh Lord. Lord, for upon thousands of years, your people have been tormented and murdered, from the Hebrews to African Americans, oh Lord. And Lord, we just ask you just have your power, grace, and love just to end it all, Lord, and just to have the world that you wanted it to be when you first created it. And Lord, we just ask you just to have a great day, and Lord, we just ask you just to bless the wise words of our speakers, just to uplift the community. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Eli. 11 years old, by the way. Thank you for that prayer. Our next guest is an award-winning social justice leader and movement strategist, a rising star, an influential activist. Her work, advocacy, bravery, and servitude have helped to fuel a global movement, inspiring millions around the world to get involved in the fight for racial and social equity. She is the youngest ever to serve as the executive director of the National Action Network. She played a crucial role in the creation of the New York City crisis management system, and she helped shepherd the largest single-day demonstration. We're talking the 2017 Women's March in Washington. Most recently, she co-founded Until Freedom, an intersectional social justice organization that serves as a clearinghouse for organizers, activists, movement attorneys, artists, celebrities, and formerly incarcerated individuals. She also co-hosts the newly launched Street Politicians podcast on iHeartRadio's Black Effect Network. Everyone, please welcome Tamika D. Mallory.
Hello. Can you all see and hear me? Hi, how y'all doing?
Hi there. Doing great. Glad to have you with us. Thank you for joining us for the 41st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Virtual Luncheon. During this month, we hope it will be inspiring, uplifting, and also informative. All important things for sure. And the theme for this year's virtual luncheon is In the Presence of Justice. In your bio, it tells a story of your history in the presence of justice in your adolescent years. Please share with the audience, Tamika, what led you to becoming a social justice leader and movement strategist? How did Dr. King's principles and traditions of nonviolence help shape your social justice journey?
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. And I am so appreciative for all those who have coordinated today's event and those who made the decision to bring me as a voice to be a part of this King Day celebration. All day today, I've been saying Happy King Day to all of my brothers and sisters and everyone who I have come into contact with. I think it's so important that just as we celebrate other important holidays and occasions, that we also acknowledge and respect what this particular day means. And also that Coretta Scott King fought to ensure that MLK Day would be an actual holiday on the calendar. It didn't just happen because someone decided to honor Dr. King. It happened because his wife, his beloved wife, and many other leaders got together and decided to fight to ensure that we could acknowledge Dr. King and also have conversations about where we go from here. How do we, continue to be bearers of the torch? And so I'm, of course, excited and incredibly grateful again for the opportunity. I got involved in activism. First of all, as a very young girl, I've been telling folks all day today, for whatever reason, that has been a question. How did you start? How did you begin? And I said, similar to church, when as a young person, you know that not only will you go to church, but you also better have a positive attitude on the way, because you're going to be there all day. And you may, in fact, experience some severe consequences if you do not show up with a positive spirit about, our faith. And that's always been the story of so many Black people and others around the world who attend church services. Well, that was the same thing for me in the movement. My parents made sure there was no question about it. It wasn't up for conversation. It wasn't up for grabs. On Saturday morning, we were going to rallies. We were going to particularly the National Action Network rally, but we also were out in the community working throughout every day of the week. My parents went to the precinct council meetings. They knew the police officers locally. They went to other Black empowerment meetings. We lived in Harlem, which is the mecca, obviously, of Black America, if you will, especially during that time when there was less gentrification. We went to the mosque where the Nation of Islam was. We went to the Black church. We went anywhere where Black people were working on liberation and freedom. And so those were my roots. I hated it, actually. When I was young, I fought against it. I did not want to participate in rallies and as I always say, I had to attend events where people were dressed up with their dashikis and their African garb. And that used to frustrate me, because as a kid watching TV and being influenced by pop culture, I wanted to hang out and wear my Pepe jackets and sneakers and, all those cool things, right? Big earrings. I thought I was living out of a movie. And instead, my parents were pushing me in a different direction. There came a point when I was a teenager that I actually rebelled. And actually, I got pregnant with my son. My son is now 21 years old. But at that time, I was 17. I had him when I was 18. And his father was killed 2 years later. At the point that his father was murdered, he was shot. He was actually with some people who were supposed to be his friends. There was conflict over drugs that went missing from this house that he stayed in. And these two brothers, along with a bunch of other individuals, they killed my son's father, and they left him in a ditch dead for 2 weeks before he was discovered. He was completely decomposed. And I don't know about all of you, and I certainly, Lynn, don't know your story, but I know in my family, we have what you call judgmental people. So already prior to that, because I was rebelling from being a part of the movement, my parents had, a lot of people didn't think I was going to amount to anything. They had already decided that my story would be, get pregnant, and probably I wouldn't make much of my life. And so I really didn't want to talk much about what happened to Jason and the fact that he was killed. But I began to learn very quickly that he wasn't the only one, that the story around Black men being shot and killed was happening within my family and without, to way too many people. And so it became clear to me that I wasn't the one who needed to be embarrassed, that in fact, America had some explaining to do about why there was not enough concern for young Black men. and the stories there. And so I just started to work. I jumped into it and I understood what my parents had been trying to show me all along. I got it. It was clear to me what they were attempting to invest in me by taking me and having me to be a part of these struggles. And so it became my own. At the age of about 19, I started to really take the ball and I went running on my own. Now, when you ask the question about the principles and following sort of Dr. King, when I was younger, I, like many of us, was a hothead. I even in the movement, when the haters come out or when you don't feel like people are agreeing with you and, you get challenged, such as we do, I, used to get mad. I'd be arguing and fighting and stressing myself out. And why doesn't everybody like me? And, and at one point, I wasn't really sure who the enemy was. I thought that being in conflict with my own people was a part of the struggle. And I think that the thing that I learned from Dr. King, especially understanding that he followed the Kenyan nonviolence tradition, which is not as much about nonviolence in the form of, not striking your brother or sister or not striking the oppressor. It's more so about things like, really suspending your judgment of individuals or situations until you have an opportunity to research, to learn more, to have deeper and better conversations. The principles that Dr. King followed are things that actually help us in our everyday lives. And I think that in this particular moment, if Dr. King was here, he would say these principles are for our lives, but more importantly, it is for us to be able to stay focused on the fight ahead.
And you mentioned all the reasons you were hesitant to go ahead and jump in. When should a person take a stand against what they believe to be an injustice? And what are the most effective ways they can do that?
I think the time is always right to do what's right, right? That's the quote that that we all love and say so often. I think that even as a small child, my parents were pushing me, and the knowledge that I received as a small kid about chanting and the demand of protest and organizing, voting. I went to the polls with my parents as a young kid every single time there was an election. I was inside the booth with either my mother or my father. Probably they didn't even see that I was like voting for the wrong person because I'm messing with the machines while they're, trying to get their business straight. So I did all those things as trial and error. And it all is a part of who I am today. I was, and the transition from me being in the work and then rebelling and sort of going out into the world and then returning back to the foundation for which I had been taught. That transition is important because that transition, that storyline is what makes up the Tamika Mallory that many hail as a leader in this particular moment. My trials and tribulations are as much a part of the process, the journey, and what you see today as the great moments. The great speeches are just as important as the great pain that I have also suffered. And so I think there's the time to get involved is right now. It's in this moment. And I think one of the biggest problems that we have, and something that sort of stops people from feeling like they have a place in the movement, is this idea that we all have to do the same thing, and we do not. In fact, the idea that there are many different layers of the movement and people who are working in different ways and coming at and approaching our issues from different perspectives, that is what makes up the diversity necessary to have a large movement where people are working together and are engaged in struggle together. And I think it gives entry points for so many individuals to get in because they can see themselves in a wide array of what the movement looks like. So I suggest that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, today is the day to begin. It's not a wait and see, it's a jump in and learn as you go.
And I'm glad you made that point as well, because we hear all the time, follow the leader, but it's important that you create your own path as well. Our audience today is very diverse, which is a great thing. It truly represents the diversity of Silicon Valley. What are some words of encouragement you can offer to the audience as we navigate the challenges, and there are many of those right now, today and in the days ahead as well?
So there's so much to be said about, advice that we can give, and of course, depending on who I'm talking to on any given day, it sounds different. If I was talking to a group of white people, and they were asking me, what should I do? What can I do? I would, and oftentimes that is coupled with the idea that they would like to join me and others like me on the front line. And I often say to white folks, what we actually need you to do is go back into your communities and your homes and your families and work with your own people. That is a better place to start in terms of being a good partner within the movement, is to do some work on your own biases and the biases of the people around you. And sometimes people are taken aback by that. We want to be involved. Listen, donate your time, donate your money, but most of all, be committed to dealing with the racism that exists within the people that you are around, within the human resources department, within the company that you work for, within the neighborhood association, and at the dinner tables with your own family members who say and do things that are very disrespectful and harmful to other communities, but you never really want to address because no one wants to actually be in conflict with their own. They would prefer to project and work on the outside. So that would be something that I would say there. And then when I'm talking to Black folks, there's a number of things that I think that all of us need to focus on, but the unity among us is clearly important. I think if there's anything that we can learn from Dr. King and the ways in which he approached life, there's this particular part of the movie King in the Wilderness that I love to see. I watch the film all the time just for this part. There's a moment when Dr. King is walking in a march, and he's talking about the movement and nonviolence, the principles, and how we need to approach this moment. We've got to stay focused and stay driven. And the reporter goes from asking Dr. King, who again is, very clear about the nonviolent strategy. And the reporter turns to Stokely Carmichael, who happens to be walking in the same exact march. And the reporter says, what do you think? And Stokely Carmichael is like, we need to burn this thing down to the ground. But yet they were walking together in the same march, going in the same direction, fighting for the same things. And so that unity among us is so incredibly important. When it comes to the idea of Silicon Valley specifically, the thing that I would say is that when I think of Silicon Valley, I think that somebody got some money, right? There's some money flying somewhere, right? And so the movements that you see out here on the ground that are bringing forth, and changing the narrative and really pushing for real change, those movements need to be funded. And guess what? We are often ready to put our money in the larger or more co-signed organizations and less likely to invest in local grassroots small groups that don't have the resources. You don't see their lights flashing everywhere. They're not the revered leaders, but yet and still the work that they're doing on the ground with the Ray Rays and Keishas of our society is incredibly important. And there needs to be an investment there as well. There is a problem that we deal with in this, they say it's an industrial system, if you will, in itself, fundraising within corporations and within in the philanthropy space, where people are fighting so much to get the little crumbs. So when you see groups that don't get along, or you see leaders that are not communicating and not working together, a lot of times it comes down to the fact that there's so little resources that people are fighting in order to be able to get those resources. So what we have to do is know your role, know what you have at your disposal. And if you are someone who's not going to get out and march with me, you're not going to be on the front lines, I can tell you that it takes a special kind of shoe for me to be able to walk the 200 miles that we've walked from New York City to DC, or to be in Louisville, Kentucky, fighting for Breonna Taylor. And those shoes cost money. So send us resources, raise money, do the work to ensure that people outside of your bubble have the services that they need and the resources that they need to do the work.
Glad you talked about that investment and our prospective up and coming youth, right? The next wave of leaders, the next wave of activists. What is a piece of advice that you can offer them as they navigate their own journeys here?
You said, what is a piece of advice? Say that one more time.
One piece of advice you can give them as they navigate their own journeys.
And who was the crowd? You said people in Silicon Valley, or I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Okay, the up and coming young leaders, the young activists that are kind of following the path that you mentioned earlier and kind of creating a way.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm incredibly encouraged by the ways in which people have been coming from all walks of life to this movement. I think, unfortunately, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery had to die in order for us to be able to see things that we had not seen in the past. I mean, even listening to that young brother praying today, 11 years old just now, the younger people within our society are so powerful. And the idea that our movements are becoming more diverse and multi-generational is so powerful. I would just say that I think the way in which, yes, our struggles and this fight is real and it is serious, but I also think that sometimes we take ourselves so seriously that we don't find ways to jump in and get involved. I would say that this is a moment for us to, one, be clear about our interests and our passion, figure out what that is. What is the thing? It's not so much about running to the fire that you see. Most people, police brutality, that's an issue. Everybody wants to run and work in that area. And you might find out that education is more so your real concern and passion. You may find out that working in the anti-violence space, helping to stop gun violence, is more of your passion. You may find out that women's issues are more of your passion, because what happens when we get in lanes that really don't belong to us is we make a mess. Too many cars colliding. But if we get into the lanes that we really feel passionate about, do the research, and also, again, don't think that, and I'm talking to an incredibly intellectual and intelligent group of people who I'm sure I can learn so much from. But the one thing that I want to caution us against is this idea that because we read a book, or we were educated in the right places and we think we have the knowledge, we understand things, we're incredibly important in our worlds and in our spaces. We believe that when we enter movement spaces that we also have all the answers because we read the book, so we know. And often what happens is that we isolate ourselves and marginalize, again, the Ray-Rays and Keishas who are living the experience. So even when I grew up in the projects my whole life, but yet I am far removed at this point from that experience. So when I go out and organize in communities, I go and find the guy and the girl who have been, who are often frowned upon and looked upon as, the worst of a community. And I want to find them and figure out what is it about you that we need to do so that we can lift our communities from the foundation, from the bottom. So I would just suggest that if you're jumping in and you're saying, I want to get involved in this work, don't believe that just because you're the smartest one in the room, that you're the smartest one in the room. You actually probably are not living the experience, and you need to be led by those who are on the ground, who actually know every single day what it is to live within the oppression and the marginalization that people are suffering. At that, if you don't have Ray and Keisha at the table of whatever it is you're organizing, you're not doing the work. You're really just doing something that is helping you to feel better, but it's not really about helping to save our people and create true equity in this society.
Yeah, you're talking about the people, basically the ones in the trenches, the Keishas and the Ray-Rays and the Lenny's, They're so important to the cause and to moving this country forward. Can you update us on what you're working on now, right now, and how others can be engaged with all the projects you have going on?
So obviously my organization, Until Freedom, you can go to untilfreedom.com to learn more about our work. We have had an incredibly busy year, to say the least, working specifically with the family of Breonna Taylor. That was where we invested a lot of resources and time over the summer. We literally moved to Louisville, Kentucky, so that we could be there and not have to travel as much with the pandemic, bringing, possibly COVID-19 after marching back to our homes and our families. And so we isolated ourselves and moved into a few houses within Louisville and stayed there for 3 months and a little more than 3 months. And we worked with Breonna Taylor's family. We left there and we went to Georgia and did the same thing. Well, actually, we went on a 9-day tour to get out the vote for the presidential election, and then went back and lived in Georgia for over a month to work on the Senate runoff. So we've been out on the ground, and certainly, I'm not one that often asks for money, but if there are individuals who would like to support our work, we need it. And that's, you can go to, again, untilfreedom.com and support us. I also have a podcast called Street Politicians. Is an opportunity to bring the conversation from the streets to the suites and vice versa, with my partner, my son, Lennon. He is also one of the co-founders of Until Freedom, our organization. And we have an incredible array of individuals on to talk about their local work and their activism, but also to help show people that activists are not as boring as people think. We care about twerking. We listen to Cardi B. We go out to clubs. We do things with our lives just like everyone else. We're not perfect, and certainly we don't want to be a part of a movement that is inauthentic and that does not show that we actually are just regular people like each and every one of you. And so that's a part of the Street Politicians platform. But the big thing that I just did was turned in my manuscript for the book State of Emergency that I just finished writing. It is going to be released on May 11th. You can actually go and pre-order it right now. But it is what I believe is a powerful conversation around analyzing sort of what has happened in the past and how we got to this point in the 400 plus years of oppression that we have experienced. But it also has a prescription in it for us to be able to address some of these issues and to really hold the incoming administration's feet to the fire and make them pay us back for helping them to get to where they are today. I think we helped everybody. We helped Kamala Harris. We helped Joe Biden. We helped Reverend Raphael Warnock. We helped John Ossoff. We helped a number of other individuals. We've helped Americans. Black people have helped Americans because we carry this election on our backs. We know that if it were not for Black people, Black women and men voters, but specifically Black women, organizers and voters, we would not be in the situation that we're in this moment. But I think now it's time for us to help ourselves. And so that's the work that we're going to be engaged in. And State of Emergency is a part of that conversation. But again, the work that Until Freedom will be doing is actually putting into practice what we believe needs to happen in this time.
Well, first, congratulations on the book. Glad to hear that. And one thing we can never say about you is that you're boring. Certainly brought a great word, important messages for everyone to listen to. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, now we're going to have a modernized version of Lift Every Voice.
something to it. Just encourage you. We're gonna take it to church later. Let's go! We'll keep marching, fighting till the victory is won. To all my brothers out there. Hold your head up, brothers, till the victory is won. To all my sisters in the struggle. Keep believing, sisters, till the victory is won. Till that time. Till that day comes. Let us march on. To victory. Till victory is won.
All right, and now a word from our Executive Director, Milan Valentin.
Good afternoon, and thank you to all of our sponsors, program participants, and all of our vendors, and everyone involved with today's MLK Luncheon. During this sponsor section, I have the honor of letting you all know that the African American Community Service Agency received a $50,000 grant from Google.org to continue supporting AACSA's important work in education by expanding and scaling our Saturday science, technology, engineering, art, and math known as STEAM on Saturday. This support will also support AACSA's Leadership Academy to build a pipeline of young Black and Latino leaders through training and mentorship, and supporting our AACSA Cares COVID-19 program, which for those of you who don't know, we've given out over 30,000 masks and other PPE related items, including mental health counseling, food baskets, economic empowerment coaching for families in our community, and all of the individuals we serve. Thank you to Google.org for the $50,000 grant. And on top of that, thank you Comcast for the $20,000 grant to help us continue to do our work. Happy Dr. King Day.
Hello, I'm Nicole Taylor, President and CEO of the Silicon Valley Community Foundation. The Community Foundation is proud to support the African American Community Services Agency and the 41st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon. I'm honored to be here to celebrate Dr. King and his legacy, which lives on through the work of everyone here today. I would also like to add my congratulations to this year's award recipients. We all know that the events of 2020 and those already of 2021 have shined a light on the critical and heroic work of community organizations like AACSA. Last year, the Community Foundation was proud to build on our established relationships with these organizations and to work closely with them to help those most devastated by systemic inequities. Today, as we celebrate the accomplishments of our peers and look to the work ahead of us, let us contemplate Dr. King's words. Faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. We may not know what our future will look like definitively, but we know that we can take the first steps together and champion racial justice in our communities. This past year, the Community Foundation developed new grant-making strategies that focused on organizations that serve BIPOC communities. We also created a giving guide for donors that highlighted Black-led organizations, and we convened a council to lift up and listen to the voices of local community leaders of color. We look forward to continuing this momentum and working together with you to deepen our community partnerships and investments as we take the first steps of reimagining a better, more equitable Silicon Valley. Thank you.
To the blueprint builders, to the backbones of every block, to the late night legends and the pioneers of legacy, for the curators of the culture, for the family franchise, and for generations to follow. You might fall, but never fail. Keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. Apply today for a variety of business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us to help you rise.
Inspire change in so many ways. We see your creativity, your spirit, your determination. You are the power in unity, the strength in diversity, the resilience in community that inspires us all. We see you.
My name is Corey Hooks, and I work in Intel's global supply chain as a senior director. I also co-chair Intel's Black Leadership Council. In our company, diversity and inclusion is a central element of our business strategy. And social equity means creating a world where all people, regardless of identity or background, have an equal voice, equal opportunity, and equal representation. In support of our RISE 2030 goals, we've committed to doubling the number of women and underrepresented minorities in senior leadership positions. We also added a milestone to accelerate action and advance racial equity. By the end of 2023, we want to have accomplished our goal of increasing representation of U.S. African-American employees in senior, director, and executive positions by 30%. If you'd like to learn more about Intel's commitment to the community and social justice, please contact Rita Holiday at rita.holiday@intel.com. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you to the African American Community Services Agency for inviting me to introduce myself to you all today. My name is Sulma Maciel, and I'm the director of the newly created Office of Racial Equity for the City of San Jose. And I am delighted to join you to celebrate the works and the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man whose teachings and actions, driven by the values of faith, truth, and compassion, have become the blueprint for justice. And as the country confronts the unequal impact of COVID-19 and reels from the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others, and the ongoing legacy of racial injustice it represents, the events have accentuated that we can no longer remain silent or apathetic. And for my colleagues in the city of San Jose, it's been a time to reflect on the role that government institutions have had in creating and perpetuating policies that have harmed Black and Brown people. The recognition of culpability has opened the doors to long overdue conversations about race, about the systems and structures that have benefited some while further marginalizing others, and about the responsibility we have to correct where we have caused harm. And through the Office of Racial Equity, we aim to advance systems change that will examine and improve our policies, programs, and practices so that ultimately we improve outcomes for Black and Brown communities. I'm encouraged by the initial steps we've taken to advance this work, but of course, we can't do this on our own. It requires ground truthing by the community, meaning the truth finding and truth telling so that we find our way to reconciliation and restoration. I feel a great sense of responsibility to lead this office with courage and humility that it merits. And I look forward to applying the works of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. alongside you.
Clyde Johnson Jr. I'm currently a senior at San Jose State University, and I'm also a volunteer at the African American Center here at San Jose.
What we do here at the African American Community Service Agency, as well as in COVID Black,
a lot of individuals like myself who go about informing the masses.
We do programs that help out people when it comes to food.
Mostly the African American community, but we try to extend it to everybody. We pretty much inform the masses about the reality of COVID, provide facts and information about it, and also we provide people with facts and information and materials to combat it, as far as gloves, hand sanitizer, masks.
We did toy drive for Christmas and serving other than giving out toys, as well as food for others who are in need and need that extra, that extra push.
Implementing programs at First Five has leading classes, making sure that families have resources from the First Five classes as well.
And it's great to see smiles on people's faces when you can provide those things.
Helping them with whatever needs that they present. A lot of times it's been for rent right now, especially with the pandemic, needing resources like food, needing just toiletries, a lot of baby care needs as well. So we've been doing a lot of diaper programs, as well as like the wipes and baby clothes. Obviously working with the pandemic, we've been giving out a lot of PPE, face masks, hand sanitizers, different things like that.
Here's information about COVID that I feel like a lot of the community doesn't always know. There's a lot going on about it, so we want to make sure that everybody has the facts straight.
Because one big issue, especially in the African American community, is a lot of people don't necessarily have the knowledge. So what we do is we try to provide people with that, because if you have the knowledge along with the proper materials to defend against it, you could go about not only taking care of yourself, but taking care of those around you.
If I can go to school and do what I need to do, as well as help out other people, literally, it's just a blessing to be in the position I am in and provide for those who are in need, as well as myself, because I'm in need as well. I feel like a lot of people forget about themselves when they're helping out other people, but it's allowed me to realize that and help out myself as well as others.
All right, let's move forward this afternoon. If you need Medicare or maybe you don't know what it is, please contact the AACSA to get the lowdown, get the 411 on everything you need to know. The MOK Luncheon is the second largest program of the year to get connected with resources. Also, if you haven't already, now is the perfect time to renew your membership with the AACSA. Please visit www.sjaccsa.org/membership for more information on membership and the newly introduced lifetime membership option. Contributions and donations can also be made on the AACSA website at sjaccsa.org/donate. We also have those links for you dropped in the chat this afternoon. As a reminder, the AACSA was founded back in 1978 and is the only community center of its kind in Silicon Valley. It's located on the corner of North 6th and Julian Street. The AACSA annually produces the Dr. MLK Jr. Luncheon on Dr. King's birthday and or holiday. And the AACSA constantly works to promote and produce programs centered around health and wellness, economic development, education, social services, social and racial justice, and our Family Resource Center in partnership with First Five Santa Clara County. All right, next, I think we are gonna go ahead and announce the first couple of winners of our raffle this afternoon. And I believe we're gonna put those names for you in the chat. That way you can see if you won and then you can celebrate. So this includes the winner for the first Alaska Airlines round trip ticket package. Also the winner of the Merrill West Credit Union gift basket as well. Once again, we'll put those in the chat for you so you can know if you won. Now, on behalf of the AACSA, I wanna take this opportunity to thank our media partners, NBC Bay Area, the Black Bay Area, KBLX, KPIX, and San Jose Spotlight. And now I would like to introduce Linda Alexander, president of DAWN, Democratic Activist for Women Now, and Nara Ambai, junior at University of Victoria Academy, and member of the African American Community Service Academy.
Good afternoon. We want to take this opportunity to recognize the attendance, support, and hard work of our local community leaders and elected officials. Thank you for your service to the community. The AACSA appreciates your ongoing support as we continue the work to provide meaningful change in the community. I will read the list of our electeds. In attendance from the office of the Mayor of San Jose, Sam Liccardo, we have Rhonda Hadnot. We also have the City of San Jose Vice Mayor Chappie Jones. Office of County Supervisor Cindy Chavez, President of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, representing District 2. Office of Council Member Magdalena Carrasco, representing District 5 on the San Jose City Council. Brian Wheatley, Board Trustee for Area 4 on the San Jose Unified School District Board of Trustees. Office of Council Member Sylvia Reynes, representing District 8 on the City of San Jose Council. David Ginsburg, Deputy to the Assessor at Santa Clara County. Office of Council Member Deb Davis, representing District 6 on the San Jose City Council.
And we also have Office of Mayor Ellen Kamai, Mayor to the City of Mountain View. Office of County Supervisor Susan Ellenberg, representing District 4 on the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. We also have Office of County Supervisor Joe Smithian, representing District 5 of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. We have former State Senator Jim Bial, formerly representing District 15 with the California State Senate. Office of County Supervisor Mike Wasserman, representing District 1 of the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. Office of Council Member Raul Peralez, representing District 3 of the San Jose City Council. And also Office of County Supervisor Otto Lee, representing District 3 of the Santa Clara Board of Supervisors. And now a video from our community partner, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s own fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
Hello, my name is Roderick Dixon, President of the San Jose Silicon Valley Alumni Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Today, we celebrate the life and legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a man of peace who worked to ensure justice and equity for all. It's no surprise that Dr. King was also a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And although his works exemplified our motto of first of all, servants of all, we shall transcend all, the importance of those words and the message they carry are even more relevant today. This celebration is an annual reminder for each of us to continue his work. Therefore, we should all identify our areas of interest and work with organizations and those activities that help move our communities forward. The events of this past summer and the recent events in our nation's capital underscore the importance of following our protests with action and doing so with the urgency of now. Dr. King once quoted, "Life's most pressing and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" Each of us must answer that question by first identifying those opportunities, taking action, and making a difference in our communities. Thank you for your attention.
Linda and Nerve, thank you. And thank you once again to those sponsors as well. All right, we want to take the time right now to put the spotlight on our young artist, Tyler Gordon. We mentioned him at the top of this program. We want to go ahead and show off some of his work this afternoon. And he painted Coretta Scott King, pretty appropriate for this day.
Hello.
Tyler, can you show us the full painting?
this painting, I actually timed it, and this painting took me 23 minutes.
23 minutes, and just inform people, Tyler, just how much work goes into your craft and how much it takes to make sure that you get that work and make sure that people can feel what you're painting.
Well, when I'm painting, I put my full attention on my painting. So some people already know that when I'm painting, I don't really talk when I paint, but only when I have to. So I put my full attention and focus into my painting. And when I'm painting, I put my feelings and emotions towards my painting. So that's why people always tell me that I'll make my paintings come to life, because I put my emotions and feelings into it.
Well, we can certainly see that in 23 minutes. That is very amazing and impressive. Tyler, thank you so much.
Thank you.
A wonderful job with that painting for sure.
Thank you.
At this time, I want to remind the audience of the importance of small businesses during this time. We want to highlight some of our local vendors in attendance and hope you will support them when you choose your meal this afternoon. Also vendors. All right, Bacayard Caribbean Grill. Some of my Jamaican heritage there for that one. Also Jackie's Place, Soul Food, celebrating a new grand opening in 2021. Jan Atkins, Hey Carter Books, Nirvana Soul, and Unlimited Fashions. Now it is time to honor our 2021 awardees. I would like to introduce Christina Anita, Derek Jackson, board member for the AACSA, and Milan Valentin, once again, executive director of the AACSA.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the African American Community Service Agency today as we celebrate the accomplishments of our extraordinary community members and recognize the work to be done that lies ahead. We will now begin presenting our awards. You may refer to the chat for biographies of each recipient. Our first award is the Spirit of Service for Outstanding Pastoral Service Award. And that award goes to Pastor Ray Montgomery. The Spirit of Service for Outstanding Pastoral Service Award recognizes an individual who provides pastoral service that evokes leadership, inspiration, and commitment to the ministry in one community. Again, that goes to Ray Montgomery. Our next award, the Facing the Challenge Award, goes to Manju Ramachandran. The Facing the Challenge Award is given to an advocate for the development of organizations that provide service to better our community. Our next award is the Gene Young Award, and that goes to Dante Latif. The Gene Young Award recognizes an individual or group who is a community-based unsung hero, one that goes beyond community service, but isn't necessarily in the same circle as the typical community service groups. Dante Latif. Our next award is the Drum Major Award, and that is presented to Mary Celestine. The Drum Major Award recognizes individuals who exemplify leadership that promote change in one community. Again, Mary Celestine. Our last award, the Champion of Change, will be presented by our Executive Director.
All right, can you hear me? Awesome. Well, our Champion of Change Award is an award that we rarely give out. And when we do give it out, we give it out to those who are champions for change. The 2020-21 award is going to be awarded to none other than Sabrina Lamontagne, who is our Operations and Finance Manager. For those of you who know Sabrina, there's always those in front of the movement, those in the movement, and those always pushing the movement. Sabrina has been a stellar, not only community member, a young Black woman that we went to college together, I think at some point in time while I was at San Jose State University. But here in the community, Sabrina is a champion for change organizationally, operationally, and as well as making sure that everything happens so that we can do the work that we do best here at AACSA. Sabrina, congratulations. You are definitely a change maker within your organization, AACSA, within your community, and in this world that we are all in. Congratulations to all of our awardees, and we will bring our awardees onto the screen, and you all can give them some love in the chat. Congratulations. All right, that's Reverend Ray.
Everybody.
And there is our stellar Sabrina that we wouldn't be AACSA without her. Most people probably see me all the time, but there's your superstar right there. Congratulations, awardees, on behalf of the 41st MLK Luncheon Committee, as well as all of us here at AACSA. Continue your great work. We see you, we're praying for you, and we are with you.
Thank you, Milan.
Smile for the camera shot.
Congratulations.
The new way that you take a photo on virtual is really crazy, but congratulations.
Congratulations, you guys.
Hey, Sabrina. All right, and now we're going to bring on one of our board members and board chair, Ikene Ike, so that he can introduce and speak on our sponsors.
Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everyone in attendance today. Thank you for being a part of this and celebrating the 92nd birthday of Dr. King, our honorees, the community, and recognizing in the work that still needs to be done in our community. Thank you to the entire team at the AACSA for putting together this program, and thank you to our wonderful board members. At this time, we also want to issue our sincerest gratitude and thanks to all of our sponsors, our title sponsor, Google, as well as our corporate sponsors, Wells Fargo, Alaska Airlines.
It's not copying and chatting from the Word doc, so I have to retype it.
Dream sponsors, the County of Santa Clara, San Jose Evergreen Community College District, Intel, HP, and First Five Santa Clara County.
All right, thank you again, and thanks again to, and congratulations to all the awardees this afternoon. Next, I would like to introduce Jaden Morgan, a brilliant freshman at Stanford University. Jaden is a two-time recipient of the U.S. President's Volunteer Service Award, serves as a representative on the Freshman Council, on the executive board of the Stanford Pre-Law Society, and is a member of his campus's Black Student Union. A consistent volunteer and community servant with the AACSA, Jaden hopes that his studies and activities will prepare him for a successful legal career and eventually a role as a public servant. Please, everyone, welcome Jaden Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Keese, for that warm introduction. I now have the honor of introducing our next speaker, who has led a journalistic career that has seen him interview multiple U.S. presidents, some of the nation's most prolific and acclaimed athletes, and various entertainers across Hollywood. An award-winning journalist and author, he has been recognized as one of the 150 most influential African Americans in the United States by Ebony Magazine, the #1 Black pundit in the country by News1.com, a member of the Route 100, Journalist of the Year in 2013 by the National Association of Black Journalists, and is a 4-time NAACP Image Award winner. He is the former executive editor and general manager of the Chicago Defender and the nation's most historic Black newspaper. He is currently the host and managing editor of #RolandMartinUnfiltered, the first daily online show in history focused on news and analysis of politics, entertainment, sports, and culture from an explicitly African-American perspective. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Roland S. Martin.
Okay, everyone, it sounds like Mr. Martin is not with us just yet. So at this time, I just want to remind everyone that the raffle is still open. So everyone go ahead and purchase those raffle tickets. So many great prizes up for grabs this afternoon. So once again, that is open right now. Let's turn things over to our executive director once again until we get Mr. Martin back.
Thank you, Lynn, for joining in. As you all heard earlier today, Marcus Washington is under the weather, so Lynn joined in to support AACSA in our hosting the 41st annual Dr. Martin Luther King Luncheon virtually. I must say, I tip my hat off to the committee in taking 41 years of doing a luncheon in person and putting it on Zoom, social media, if you will. One of the things that we want to bring to your attention right now is our auction that is taking place. It is important for us because normally this luncheon is the beginning fundraiser of the year, not only just recognizing the legacy and life of Dr. King, but the ability for AACSA to share with you what we are doing. As I always say, AACSA is the hidden diamond of Silicon Valley and the little engine that could. And so those funds, by you purchasing or participating in the auction, will help us continue the programs and services that we do here at AACSA. So if you can click the link, which is in your chat, and go to make your bid, you could be the winner of an airline ticket from Alaska Airlines, which we are promoting traveling post-pandemic. Do not travel right now. Don't do that. Make sure you wear your mask, get you some PPE. PPE, what are we talking about? Hand sanitizer, mask, practicing our 6 feet away from other people, and making sure that we let and check on our senior citizens as well as our neighbors, and making sure that they have what they need. So again, we ask all of you to make sure that you participate in the auction, as well as share with others about what AACSA and partners of various organizations are doing today. I'm now going to turn this back over to Lynn so that we can resume the program. Thank you all for what you do here in Silicon Valley. We, again, thank all of you for what you do and working alongside all of you. Shout out to all the Spartans.
Yeah, huge shout out to them. I guess this means that we now have our keynote speaker this afternoon, Mr. Roland S. Martin. Let's listen in.
Hey, folks, how are we doing? I want to make sure that the audio is fine. So are we good with that?
Good to go.
We are good.
All right then. Certainly glad to hear it. Glad to see all of you on this day. It is a glorious day. But we're here I'm here in the nation's capital, basically looking like a war zone because we've got folk who cannot accept the reality of an election. And so it goes. That's fine. That's fine if that's the case. But the bottom line is we certainly want to congratulate Vice President-elect Kamala Harris, graduate of Howard University, who today resigned from the U.S. Senate because she is going to be, of course, sworn in as the next Vice President on Wednesday, and certainly President-elect Joe Biden as well. And so it is a busy time. It is a different MLK Day, obviously, because we're still living in this COVID environment, this COVID world, not being able to, have events in person. That's why we are here having this virtual event as well. But it still did not stop me from wearing the MLK Challenge, a day full of service. And so a lot of people have been out there doing these things. And so we certainly appreciate all the work that they do, all the work that you do as well. But I do want to start this way before I get into the substance of my remarks. I do want us to remember that today is not just about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you actually go and listen to his speech, we streamed it earlier on Roland Martin Unfiltered. If you go to the YouTube channel of the Nobel Peace Prize and you actually watch his 12-minute speech, he accepted the Nobel Peace Prize on behalf of the movement. He did not accept it on behalf of himself, even though he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He accepted it on behalf of the movement. And when the MLK Memorial was built in 2000, when it was dedicated in 2011. It was led, of course, by his fraternity. I'm a life member as well, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. But I make the point that that memorial, although it's the MLK Memorial, it's not solely about him. And the reason that's important is because if we make it solely about him, then we lose sight of all the other people, ordinary people who did extraordinary things to make the civil rights movement or the Black freedom movement real. And so we must think about on this day, not just celebrating him, but celebrating Ella Baker and Fannie Lou Hamer and Ralph Abernathy and Diane Nash and Septima Clark, Zenona Clayton, Constance Baker Motley, Andrew Young, Reverend Jackson, James Orange, C.T. Vivian, Fred Shuttlesworth. I mean, I can go on and on and on, all the different people who made the Black freedom movement a reality. The folks who were the freedom marchers, the people who were the foot soldiers in Selma, the folks who were in Albany, New York. I mean, I can just go on and on and on. These are all of the people who made the movement real. And so I think that's critically important for us to understand that they made it possible. They made it possible for him to do what he did. Remember, he was just a young upstart in Montgomery, Alabama, barely fresh out of grad school, and then he goes there, and then of course they pick him to lead the Montgomery Improvement Association. But there were people who are already there doing the work, and so I just think that a lot of times, again, there's so much energy and focus just on Dr. King that we also lose sight of the other folks out here who did amazing work, people who are still with us, Merle Everett Williams, who is still with us, Fred Gray, who is still practicing law, 90 years old in Alabama. He was the legal titan behind so many of these things that took place in the movement. And so I just wanted us to start with that, the framing, if you will, when it comes to this particular day. We are operating in quite a unique moment in time. And the moment that we are operating in is critically important, is because here we now sit 22 years away from America becoming a nation that's majority people of color. By 2043, we will have a majority Latino, Black, Asian, Native American. But what we've seen since the end of the Black freedom movement, we've seen significant progress, but there's a lot more progress that needs to be had. I said earlier that today was the last day for Kamala Harris as United States Senator from California. With her resignation today, there leaves no Black women in the United States Senate, not one. In the history of the United States Senate, there have only been two. Kamala Harris, of course, and of course, Kara Mosley Braun from Illinois. The reason that is important is to understand is that, so while we are celebrating where we've come from, where we're going, we have to understand that there's still work to do when it comes to political power in this country. There's still work to do when you begin to look at the fact that in the history of America, there's never been a Black woman who's been governor of a state. You've had a couple of sisters who serve as lieutenant governor of various states. I think actually 3, I believe. But you've never had an African-American woman who's been a governor of a state. And so when we talk about the advancements, and here we are in 2021, the fact that we still are dealing with first is something that's critically important for us to remember. It's important for us to remember that because when we talk about this pursuit of justice, we have to remember that most of the time it's really just us. That when we're talking about fighting on behalf of trying to change this country, it really in a lot of places is just us. I just spent 5 weeks in Georgia, and we committed ourselves to being on the ground in Georgia for the runoff election of Pastor Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. They were in the runoff for the United States Senate. And we committed my show to say, we're going to cover this. We're going to be on top of this because we understood how important those races were. We understood what it would mean for policy regarding African Americans if Democrats controlled the US Senate and not Mitch McConnell. We understood that if Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff won, there would be a 50-50 tie in the United States Senate, and then Vice President Kamala Harris would be the tie-breaking vote if there is indeed a tie. And so we were there not because we were there to support Warnock and Ossoff. We were there because we understood that the John Lewis Voting Act could not become law if Mitch McConnell was still in power. The George Floyd Justice Act could not become law if Mitch McConnell was still the one who was deciding whether to bring bills to the floor. We understood that $15 an hour living wage could not become reality if he was still in charge, if he was still in power. We realized, again, what the policy difference would be depending upon who is in charge. Now, let's be real clear. The policies that we're talking about is we are advocating for issues that affect Black folks, regardless of what party is in power. But we understand which one would make it more likely to even call a meeting than those who would likely ignore us. What we've witnessed over the last 4 years has been a policy assault on Black people. Oh, if you want to believe all the drama, oh, how Trump helped HBCUs and completely funded all this sort of stuff, all lies. But we understand the impact of the Affordable Care Act. We understand the difference between an Eric Holder Department of Justice and a Jeff Sessions Bill Barr Department of Justice. We understand with one Department of Justice where they stopped utilizing federal prisons and another Department of Justice where they reinstated that. We understand the difference between the Eric Holder Department of Justice and then this one where they have executed 12 people since July, 5 people in the last 2 weeks, most of them African American. If you want to talk about justice, go read the statement of Justice Sonia Sotomayor, who ripped the Supreme Court and the Trump administration for this rush to kill people with the death penalty on the federal level when they had not executed anyone for 17 years. Literally, Donald Trump and Bill Barr were rushing to put people to death before 12:01 p.m. on Wednesday. What we need to understand is that when we talk about justice, a lot of times it is just us who is out here battling, who is out here swinging, who is out here doing all of the heavy work and the lifting to make this thing possible. And so we must appreciate the modern day warriors, the LaTosha Browns and the Cliff Albrights and the Tamika Mallory with Until Freedom and Linda Sarsour and my son and so many others. Here are people who are out there trying to make the reality of what King and others did and moving it forward in the 21st century. But what this also requires, though, this requires that every single one of us be on the battlefield. Now, some of y'all might say, okay, it requires every single one of us. What do you mean by that? Oh, there are people here who have a great position. There are people here who work for wonderful institutions. There are people here who have great jobs. But the question you must be asking yourself is, how am I using my gifts and my talents to be able to help usher in a new period of justice and to end injustice in this country? I don't mean your corporation buying a table. I don't mean companies posting Black Lives Matter on their social media. What I mean is, do we have individuals who in their everyday lives are using their opportunity to be difference makers? Or do we have folk who I call parking lot militants? See, these are the folk who talk a whole lot of smack in the parking lot. We should be doing this, we should be doing that. Yet when they go inside the building, then they get real quiet. See, we need fewer parking lot militants. We need people to understand that you did not get to where you are today solely because of your skill set, because of your degree, because of your knowledge, because of your relationships. You got there because there were some other folk who put it on the line in order for you to be able to do what you're doing today. See, I understand that. In addition to being a life member of Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I'm a life member of the National Association of Black Journalists. In fact, I crossed the burning sands of Alpha the same year I joined NABJ. So since 1989, I've been involved in both of these organizations. This year, we celebrated the 40th anniversary of the National Association of Black Journalists. And I know I could not be doing what I'm doing today if those 44 Black journalists did not meet in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. to create the organization. But even before that, as somebody who is a member of the Black press, I could not be doing what I'm doing today with Roland Martin Unfiltered if it wasn't for A.I. Scott and the Atlanta Daily World, if it wasn't for Charles Burnett and the Negro Associated Press, if it wasn't for John H. Johnson and Ebony and Jet, if it wasn't for Robert Abbott and the Chicago Defender, if it wasn't for Frederick Douglass and the North Star and Ida B. Wells Barnett, and of course, Ethel Payne and Alice Dunnigan and Chuck Stone and Louis Martin and all of these heroes and sheroes in the Black press. So when I am sitting here fiercely and advocating for our people, I am doing it based upon there being a lineage created or a path that was constructed that allowed for me to be able to walk on, and my job is to extend that path forward. And so you must ask yourself the very same question that Dr. King rhetorically asked in Los Angeles when he went to speak there. And he met with a young attorney, Clarence Jones. And he met with Clarence and he wanted Clarence's help. He was told that Clarence could be of use to the movement. Clarence was making very good money as an attorney in Los Angeles. He had a very nice house there in Baldwin Hills. And he wanted no part of the movement. And so the next day, Dr. King gave a speech in Los Angeles. And in that particular speech, he challenged the Black elite. He challenged Black doctors and lawyers to use their gifts for the benefit of the movement. Clarence writes in his book, and I interviewed Clarence, and I know him well, and he said it was as if Martin was speaking directly to me and was challenging me to do more. And he said his wife looked at him as a way of saying, you know, Doc is talking to you. And so I'm saying all of this right now because there is somebody who is watching. There's somebody who is saying, you know what, I'm good, I'm doing enough. But are you really doing enough? Is your membership and your membership dues, is that truly enough? Are you using your gifts and talents to usher in a new generation? Are you using your gifts and talents to challenge the respective companies you work for to go bigger and bolder and not simply be accepting? And let me be real clear. It's a whole bunch of companies out here who are getting off on these diversity awards and how they are a top company for diversity. And if we really want to be honest, most of those awards are BS. Most of those awards have been purchased as a result of folk buying tables and sponsoring events. But how are they being difference makers? See, I'm talking about You must be challenging your companies in a way that goes beyond just a few minor appointments. What I'm talking about is not just Black boards of directors, not just Black senior executives, not just Black direct reports, not just Black junior executives, not just Black mid managers, but you must be challenging them saying, where are we putting our money? Is our money being placed in Black banks? Are we utilizing Black advertising agencies? Are we taking out ads and investing in Black media? How are we truly supporting the infrastructure and the ecosystem that Black America is built on? And I'm talking about being real. I'm saying challenging your multi-billion-dollar companies by asking them, are we a part of the billion-dollar club when it comes to minority supplier development? I'm talking about challenging. See, I'm not, and there's no disrespect to internships and entry-level jobs. But see, I don't want us to get played by folk who are very good at offering those small things and for us to sit here and go, ooh, that's great. No. I need them to go beyond just saying we recruited at an HBCU. I want to know, are they setting up centers in HBCUs? What are they actually funding? I'm talking about long-term, deep ties. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, we have to be willing to challenge folk in a different way. And I know there are some people who say, but well, I don't understand. The title of this is called In the Presence of Justice. That's your theme. But do understand, one of the greatest mistakes that we make as Black people is if we only define justice when it comes to the criminal side. See, one of the things that I've noticed in my career is that when we have these conversations, white America is perfectly comfortable with us talking about social justice. They're fine with us talking about criminal justice. But folk get real uncomfortable. We start talking about economic justice. Let me explain something to all of y'all that you may not realize. There's lots of discussion with regards to Silicon Valley and the lack of investment of venture capital dollars in Black and other minority companies. So there's a whole lot of conversation. But have you ever asked yourself, where do the venture capital dollars come from? Where do the private equity dollars come from? So allow me to unpack this thing for you. Here we are trying to change a system here. We need y'all here to invest more here. But the money comes from here. Some of y'all may be saying, hold up. How can the money come from here, but the money is up here? Unpack it. Most of your venture capital dollars and your private equity dollars is coming from pension funds. Who really are the largest investors on Wall Street? Pension funds. What are pension funds? Well, you have private pension funds, but your biggest dollars are coming from public pension funds. Okay, so what are public pension funds? City, county, state, federal employees. City, county, state, federal employees. So you mean to tell me that the venture capital dollars in Silicon Valley are really being fueled by the people who are teachers, police officers, firefighters, workers of city, county, state, federal government? The answer is yes. One estimate said, put that 45 to 48% of all federal pension dollars are Black and brown. Similar numbers on the lower, on county, state, county, city. That means that your mama or your daddy or your uncle or your aunt or your cousin, your friend, your church member, your fraternity brother or sister, their friends and families or themselves, they are the ones who are actually fueling the investment in Silicon Valley. And see, here we are trying to knock down the door to get these white folks up here with their very few Black people, let's just be honest, very few, to invest in Black and brown companies using the very dollars of Black and brown people. I'm gonna let that sit right there for a second. We are begging white folks at the top to invest the very money that has come from Black and brown people into companies of Black and brown people. See, the activism has to be there. See, what that means is, what has to happen is, we've got to have folk who lead organizations such as this to be intermediaries in going to these companies and challenging them. So take, for instance, let's just say, we're having a conversation. We're having a conversation with the venture capitalist. And there's a meeting, and we're sitting with that venture capitalist. And we then begin to say, before the meeting, where do they get their money from? Meaning, the money that this venture capital went out and raised, where did it come from? And then you ask that next question. Okay, what state pension did it come from? And then you ask the question, what's the makeup of that state pension? So now when we go into the meeting and we're having an economic justice meeting, what we really are saying is we're actually here to reclaim what is already ours. We are here to reclaim what is already ours. Congresswoman Maxine Waters said, reclaiming my time. I dare say today's theme should be reclaiming what's ours. See, I want us to look at this thing totally different. I want us to be able to walk in and say, yes, we're seeking this level of investment in this company. And let me just remind you, the dollars that you have received to be able to invest, those are Black and brown pension dollars. And what has to happen is we need organizations today mobilizing our organizations to then organize our people. I have given this speech different places, and I would ask the number of people who have worked in public sector to stand up, and sometimes 75 to 80% of the room stands up. And I said, do y'all understand that the richest group of Black people in America are public workers because of their pension? This, folks, is about reclaiming what is ours. In technology, Black people, and not just technology, but in everything. For lack of a better phrase, we make shit sexy. Clubhouse. All of a sudden, the app Clubhouse has taken off because of Black people. Go on there and look at who's leading the conversations. Go on there and look at who's driving the conversations. Go on there. We make shit sexy. We sell stuff. We sell brands. We make them hot. Black entertainers, Black singers, Black rappers, Black athletes. That's what we do. But now is the time, but we should be now asking, okay, but hold up. How much of those firms actually giving to Black media? See, I'm about reclaiming what's ours. Joe Biden ain't president. Kamala Harris ain't vice president without Black people. So ask yourself, why does the federal government spend $1 billion annually on media advertising, and Black media only gets 10 million out of the 1 billion? Ask yourself, why is it? And then this was documented by my man, Brett Pulley, in his book, The $1 Billion Bet, the unauthorized biography of Bob Johnson and BET. When Sumner Redstone and Viacom purchased Black Enterprise Television, they discovered that BET was getting $1,500 for $1,500 per a 30-second ad. And the exact same ad that was running on MTV was getting $8,000. Same ad, $1,500 on BET, $8,000 on MTV. So when BET was sold for $3.3 billion, if you actually do the math, had BET been getting its real number, its fair share, BET should have been sold for $10 billion. But we were getting 22 cents on the dollar. Y'all hear that? We were getting 22 cents on the dollar. This is about reclaiming what is ours. See, I'm not about sitting here being real nice to some folk and asking. Right now, we're dealing with a COVID crisis. Ask yourself this question. How is it that we are lagging badly when it comes to Black folks getting vaccinated? Now ask yourself, how much money is about to be spent on COVID awareness, and how much money is that going to Black people? And let me be real clear. I'm not talking about Black targeted media. I'm talking about Black owned media. See, it's real easy to keep funding Black targeted media, but that means you ain't funding Black people. That means you funding Black, what you're really funding is Blackface media. Uh-oh, that might hurt some people's feelings, but I really don't care. Where we are, if we are going to truly be difference makers, if we are truly going to change the game, then we must be fierce economic justice warriors. If you really study Dr. King, and I mean you got to go deeper than listening to the bottom part of his I Have a Dream speech. That means you got to go deeper than listening to the last 2 minutes of his mountaintop speech. If you want to understand what it means to be a fierce economic justice warrior, listen to the full 43-minute and 16-second mountaintop speech where Dr. King lays out an economic agenda. Folks, what we are dealing with right now is a need for this generation of people to be fierce economic justice warriors. To be going, we basically have, look at yourself as you have been able to infiltrate white universities. You have been able to infiltrate major corporations. Now, what are you going to do while you're there? What are you going to do while you're sitting at the table? And if you're one of these folks and you're just so happy to be there, that means that you are going to be a Negro in corporate America who leaves no fingerprints or no footprints. In order for you to be a fierce economic justice warrior, that means you are going to have to make a decision. And that is, are you going to be present or are you going to have presence? Are you going to be present or are you going to have presence? Are you going to make this about more than you getting a paycheck? Or are you going to make this truly about the collective? I'm all for all of us making the most money that we can. I am all for us building up our personal economic war chest. But more than one of us can eat. More than one of us can build. We don't have to fall for the white supremacy of there being the only one, the sole one. No, more than one of us can eat. More than one of us can benefit. More than one of us can sit at the table. See, so if you are Black in Silicon Valley, and if you say, man, it's lonely at the top, that's actually your fault because you haven't brought somebody else with you. See, if you really were about the business of our people, you would say, I might be the only one today, but I'm not going to be the only one for long. And then when you bring up that next one, you then tell them you got to bring up somebody too. See, there should not be any one of us saying it's lonely at the top. Change the condition of where we are. You got to make a decision. Am I going to be present or will I have presence? Having presence means you are all about the impact. You are challenging systems. You are challenging the way of doing business. And you're not accepting any excuses from the very people. And when they say, I think you're trying to go too fast. No, y'all have been going too slow. This is a moment for every single one of us to truly be difference makers. And I would hope and this is my last point, I would hope that 30 years from now, we are not having an MLK Day celebration and we are solely referencing Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer and Septima Clark and Ella Baker and Ralph Abernathy, Hosea Williams and Andrew Young and James Orange. This is the moment right now where Black folks today should be saying, we're going to do our part. So 30 years from now, they're reciting our names. What you do today is about legacy. What you do today will determine what they say about you tomorrow. If you say nothing today, do nothing today, then they will not be talking about you tomorrow. That means in your work life, you were simply present. They called your name and you said here. That's present. Presence. Presence is when you've long left the company and when they call your name, folks start remembering all the stuff you did. If all they ever say is he used to work here or she used to work here, that means you were simply present. But if they call your name and then they are able to recite the stuff that's still in place and you have been gone, that means you had presence. That is legacy. There are people today who come up to me to tell me what I said and did on CNN. Y'all, I've been off of CNN 8 years in April. I have been gone 8 years in April. That's called presence. When I look at the people who I put on TV first, who are now on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, all these networks, it's called presence. This is a moment for this generation to rise up. This is a moment for this generation to reclaim what is ours. This is the moment for this generation to become fierce economic justice warriors. Now you have to decide, leaving here, what am I going to do? Will I be present or will I simply have presence? Thanks a bunch.
All right, Mr. Roland S. Martin, thank you so much for that impactful word today regarding today's theme, in the presence of justice. And are you present? That is the big question. And justice equals just us. So many of us still in the fight, and that fight continues for sure. Also, we make stuff sexy. I'm not going to say the other word because my mama or my aunties might be watching. But we are nearing the end of our program. And I want to remind you that the auction is still open. Also, the donation link. We're a little over $2,100 right now, and the goal is $7,500. So please, please, please take part in that. Some wonderful prizes up for grabs. And I want to thank you for having me as your MC this afternoon. It's been a wonderful experience. Couldn't think of a better way to spend this MLK Day. I want to turn things over now to Melinda Valentin, the Executive Director of AACSA.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes, you're on.
Awesome. Happy Dr. King Day, everybody. Thank you for attending today's program. Please stay on because as you all know, small businesses and vendors will be coming up next and they need your support, they need your dollars, and they also need you to be present to hear what they are selling, what they are providing. Today, we would like to go ahead and thank Tamika D. Mallory, who gave us a wonderful conversation about social and racial justice and what that sister is doing in the world. Thank you, Roland S. Martin, for always answering the call when AACSA calls you to bring a word of truth and what you are doing across the globe in regards to speaking truth to power. Thank you, Lynn Keys, for joining us in light of Marcus Washington being under the weather. You did an amazing job today, and we look forward to bringing you on, brother, for more programs and services with AACSA. Thank you today to Sean Young Studios, Jamie Technology, and all of the AACSA staff and board of directors for the work that you all have put in today to put a 41-year-old program into Zoom and other platforms that we use. We also want to thank and congratulate all of the awardees for the work that you are doing tirelessly here in Silicon Valley and Santa Clara County to make sure that we take care of those in need. We want to make sure that we highlight COVID-19 vaccine program on January the 21st to talk about the Black and African ancestry community here and how we can get you detailed and much information from healthcare professionals to make sure that we get our community well informed to get vaccinated, as well as understand what is a vaccine, what is it all about, how will it impact your bodies, and information about getting small businesses what they need to survive the pandemic. Next up, we're going to bring up Theresa Walker and Maisha Taylor for all of our vendors to join the platform with us. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Google, corporate sponsors, Wells Fargo, Alaska Airlines, and to all that have invested in today. It would not have been possible without our dream sponsors, HP, Intel, First Five, Santa Clara County, and our school district partners, Maisha and Theresa.
Thank you. Again, on behalf of the African American Center Community Service Agency and the 41st Annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Luncheon Committee, we would like to thank the exhibitors and the vendors for participating. At this time, we're going to have each vendor present their product to you for 3 minutes. And we're going to start with Jan Atkins. She will be doing an exhibit at this time. Maisha, if you will unmute Jan.
Can you Jan, you're muted. Okay, here I am. Hello.
Hi, Jan.
Hi. Well, my name is Jan Batiste Atkins, and I've written 3 books. My books are African Americans of Santa Clara County and San Jose, African Americans of San Francisco. This book was my first book that I wrote, and I wrote this book in about 2014. And then my second book is African Americans of Monterey County. And this book was written and came out in about 2016. And then my last book came out in 2018. So I am so, I believe these books are so necessary because we have, as we all know, the African-American story has often been missed in our history books. Our history books do not include all of the great pioneers, the great visionaries, and the great African-Americans that contributed to our story. Our story is not included in the history books. So I set out as a teacher and I'm teaching to my students, and I had no resources. So I set out to do the research myself and to write the stories. So these 3 books have been published by Arcadia Publishing Company, and they are available to us individually at Barnes & Noble, but we don't have many Barnes & Noble, but you can also acquire a copy through Amazon, or you can send me an email and I'll make contact with you. I believe that our kids learn California history, and that is taken in middle school. And California history does not include the history of African Americans. So my books are here for families, for students. You want to learn about your history, and you want to learn about the contributions of Californians right here in the Bay Area, then my books are a must. They're often used in the school districts. They're used at the college level all over the country. Each book contains about 185 photographs. And so I can just flip it open for you with about 185 photographs. It begins with the early years of some of the early pioneers, some of the contributions of African Americans in our cities. And so there's about 185 photographs with captions, but the captions are pretty full of lots of information. So I want to encourage all of you, if you are interested in having, they make wonderful coffee table books, but they're full of a lot of good information. I've included the statistical information, and all of the books begin with the 1700s and continue up to the present time. So I want to say that if you would like to purchase my books, you can go to AfricanAmericanHistories.com, which is my website, or you can go to, I believe, the batiskin@gmail.com, and I believe that this will be in the directory. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jan. And next we're gonna have Navarra Soul come up and do a presentation at this time. Hi.
Hi there. That was for Nirvana Soul, I take it. I'm Bianca Shalu. I'm the CMO and co-founder of Nirvana Soul. We are a San Jose-based coffee and tea company. So we sell coffee and tea, obviously, here in our downtown San Jose location. It was founded with me and my sister. We're both San Jose natives. And, oh, I love y'all comments. Best coffee shop ever. Thank you. We sell also bags of coffee. Here you go. That we will have available back in stock as of next Tuesday. We've got merch. We just got masks today, so be on the lookout for that. And right now, we would really love if you would follow us along. You can find us at Nirvana Soul Coffee on Instagram and Facebook. And you can find us at Nirvana Soul SJ for San Jose on Twitter.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Next up,
thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Well, you're welcome. And the next person up is Tamasha Booker with Hey Carter Books.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Tamasha Booker, and I am the CEO and author of Hey Carter Books. I started Hey Carter Books in 2016, which is inspired by my son after being disappointed in the lack of representation for Black children. Hey Carter Books is all about curating products and experiences to ensure that Black children see themselves and are reflective positively. Hey Carter Children's Books is a 3-book series focused on building self-confidence and pride in young children. Brown Boy Joy was recently featured in the Netflix original series Bookmarks, celebrating Black voices, and was specifically chosen for its ability to speak to self-confidence with children of color using the social justice standards. Inside of each Hey Carter book, you will find affirmations, vibrant colors, and rhythmic words that will really speak to the hearts of our youth. Each books are intentionally designed to speak life into your children as you read them. The first book in the series is My Brown Skin, where the main character talks about all his favorite things that are brown. These books are so intentional, ensuring that our children fall in love with their beautiful brown skin. The 3-book series also has a 3rd book, which is King for a Day, where your child will use their imagination to talk about all the things that they would do if they were king or queen for a day. The possibilities are truly endless. Hey Carter Books is showing the world Black joy all year round, 365. Each book is $12.95 and available on our site at www.heycarterbooks.com. Also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also Walmart. When you purchase from Hey Carter Books, you are helping to change narratives and also elevate Black joy. Please follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram at Hey Carter Books. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And next we'll be hearing from Sandra Chow from Aurora Health Group.
Hello, it's so great to be here today. I'm Sandra Choi.
We can't hear you, Sandra. Okay. Maisha? We can't hear Sandra.
Okay, it may be something on her end. So if we want to go to the next vendor and come back.
Dr. We'll come back. We're going to go to Vicki Brown with Ice Body Skincare. Hi, Vicki. Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Vicki Brown with Ice Body Skincare. And Ice Body Skincare was created to assist individuals with dry, sensitive, and other skin health issues, including eczema, psoriasis, and acne. Our approach is to use